We're live here with Frank Molinaro, Penn State assistant coach, New Jersey state champion, national champion. Like I said, Penn State assistant coach on the national champion team and senior level wrestler. Frank, thanks for taking the time.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Frank, I've never talked to you before on video, and I just wanted to take you back to your youth, growing up in New Jersey. Jersey, I'm not sure it always gets quite the respect it deserves, being right next to Pennsylvania as a wrestling hotbed. But can you tell me a little bit about your experience wrestling in New Jersey? I know you beat a gold medalist, world champion in your state final, but can you give me some more details about growing up in Jersey? I know it's single class system too.
Yeah,
Yep.
one class. Basically, I started wrestling at BYA. It was like a recreational program, and it got competitive real fast.
How old were you?
I was like 4.5 years old.
How did you get introduced to the sport?
My parents kind of just were signing me up for sports to burn off some energy, and I did football, like flag football or whatever it was at the time. And then wrestling, I just kind of went in there and I was doing headstands on the wall and just tackling kids down, but. New Jersey's to answer your question, New Jersey's a very competitive state. And, it was always to be a state champ. The first thing was I wanted to get my name on the wall at BYAA, and that was if you placed top four.
Okay.
So I got top four. Now I had to be a state champ. Unfortunately, I took a lot of thirds, a lot of fourths. I never was a kid state champ, and that was kind of a real letdown for me because my last year I was expected to win. And,
Can I ask you a question about that? How did you keep from getting discouraged as a kid? Your goal was champion. And I'm always curious about wrestlers, how the mental toughness, how they overcome challenges.
Yeah, I think a lot of kids are different. Some kids, their approach might be different with their personality. For me, I was just determined. Once I decided this was what I was going to do, and I set my mind on it, that I won't stop until I get it or I give it all I got. So. Yeah, I just kind of always had that chip on my shoulder. And when I went to high school, my freshman year, I was undefeated, 32-0, and I didn't place at states. Things didn't go my way. My second year, we transferred schools. So we moved to Southern Regional now. And whole new thing, new friends, families, commuting, back and forth to work as we're settling into our new house and everything. And that was a crazy year because I got thrown to the fire. I cut a lot of weight, probably almost 20 pounds. 15 to 20 pounds every 2 weeks. I was kind of cutting. And end of the year, I didn't even know if I was going to be able to make weight. So coaches really helped a lot and kind of kept me from, making my weight out of control, making it an issue. And I had a really good tournament. And I was seeded 8th, and I wrestled Jordan Burroughs in the finals.
Yeah.
Ended up, winning in like crazy fashion, maybe 2 seconds left. And then from there on, that kind of changed the whole direction of my wrestling career. Now it's kind of, I had that affirmation that I could do it, and if I just stuck with it, and there was a big gap there between not being a state champ and being a state champ, but it's just like anything else in life. Once you achieve that goal, now you're a state champ. Now it's like, it just gets set higher and higher and higher, and you got to really ask yourself, what am I chasing here? Why am I chasing?
So when you were a state champion,
Mm-hmm.
let's say within the first month afterwards, did you imagine being a senior level wrestler? No. Okay. All right.
I think it's all relative and it's all process. And for some people, they have those goals and those visions when they're young, real young. They're talking about wanting to make Olympic teams. And maybe some of that is from where you grow up and who your environment is, who you're around all the time. But yeah, it's always kind of been, I had A, B, C, and D. I've had set goals. I wanted to be a national champ. I wanted to be a 4-time All-American. I wanted to have over 100 wins. I wanted to, once I won the states once, I had to win it 3 times. And, 4-time region champ, 4-time district champ. So you have those goals in your head. And I think the challenge is, when you really set them out of your margins.
Right.
Set them above, what feels comfortable for you, what feels normal for you. But those are the goals. Those are the moments that when you capture those, you never forget those moments.
Right. Going back to when you were a kid, did anybody in your family wrestle, or did you just say, I'm going to wrestle?
My dad wrestled a little bit. He was a good football player. My brother played sports, so but nobody was really a diehard wrestler in our family. No one wrestled in college or.
Okay. All right. So you're a Jersey State champion. You're looking to go to colleges. How did you end up going to Penn State?
Good location, um, great school, great campus, great environment. Definitely a good balance for being a wrestler at the time. I think I needed to kind of slow down and organize stuff. It felt good, and it's the Big Ten.
Yeah.
If you want to be the best wrestler you can possibly be, I believe that you have to be in the Big Ten. I mean, that's not necessarily true in all cases, but the competition for wrestling is in the Big Ten, and that was something that was important to me, was wrestling the best guys I would have a chance to wrestle.
Right. So you were there pre-Sanderson team.
Yeah.
Right. Your freshman year, you were a little bit over 500, but it seems like you turned it on at nationals.
Yeah.
Talk to me. Like, is that how you think about it, or do you just think, oh, I'm finally peaking at the right time, and All-American? Take me through that.
I was definitely not peaking at that. I mean, it was more about surviving that year. I don't like to make excuses, but I was sick for, probably a month and a half during the season. I had mono and strep throat in my blood.
Oh.
And, things were not going my way, and I was trying to just hang in there. But in the back of my mind, I always knew that, when it came to the end of the season and I felt healthy, I knew I was going to feel healthy again eventually. I was going to get, back to 100%, and things were going to, suck when I didn't feel good. But I always knew I could be out there winning those matches, and I always believed that I can beat anyone on any given day. So when I got that wild card, it kind of gave me some urgency, because it was an opportunity that was unexpected, and maybe I didn't think I deserved it or not at the time, but that doesn't matter. The point is, I got the opportunity, so I knew I had to take advantage of it for sure.
Can I take you back just into the mentality? So you're champion Jersey high school wrestler.
Yeah.
A lot of champions, when they get to college and they lose a few matches, it messes with them. Tell me, what was the mental, like, what were you thinking? Just keep, being positive, or was there something else in your mind that gave you strength to overcome and not lose faith in your ability?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I'm a little, again, everybody's a little bit different. I would say for me specifically, that's what I wanted. I was, after I won my first state championship, I knew that I was supposed to win another state championship, and I was expected to, and I knew that I could. So I almost didn't feel challenged enough, and I wanted to be thrown back into that mix where I started from the bottom again, and I had to work my way to the top, because I actually enjoy that part of it. I enjoy the grind of kind of jumping levels and starting to build yourself back up. That's I like that process better than kind of the maintaining it.
Uh-huh.
So
okay. What? I'm sorry. What was the biggest thing you had to change as a wrestler making the jump from high school to college?
That's a good question. I think I had to work on, finishing my takedowns correctly. Finishing correctly, because I was so strong I could just dive in on people's legs and pick them up in high school.
Uh-huh.
Finishing correctly, top. Develop anybody who's going to be going to college. I would tell them to develop their top game, because that college wrestling is about control. It's about maintaining, building leads, and good mat wrestling. Mat wrestling is very important. So top and finishing takedowns was by far the two things I had to change immediately.
Did you ride? I'm sorry. Say that again. Improve on. Did you ride legs in high school?
I did, but I rode crossbody, and you give up a lot of reversals riding crossbody.
Crossbody, right?
So, we broke them flat.
So I'm not saying let's say you're slightly shorter than the average guy at your weight. Yeah. One of the few guys who could ride legs at your size so effectively. Where did you get that from? Did someone teach you the technique, or was it just from practicing your ass off, or both?
Casey Cunningham, he really spent a lot of time in there with me, because he saw that I could break the guys flat, and he saw an opportunity for me to ride guys easily and get turns. And he's really good on top too. Grinds on top, does a good job, gets turns. So he really helped me get proficient at doing that move, and then kind of just through experience, and that's where I feel a lot of my strength is on top. So I just knew kind of just sticking it out, and I think there's three different kinds of people. Somebody that's gonna try to ride you. Okay, they're going into it thinking they're gonna ride you. There's a guy thinking, I'm gonna try to ride you, but if it's hard, I'm gonna let you go because I don't want to put too much energy into this. And then there's a guy that gets on top of you that he's determined to get a turn.
Yeah.
He expects to get a turn, and over my career, I became one of those guys that expected to get a turn. I think that's what really kind of was a strength.
No doubt. I mean, the Big Ten final against Ness. When you compare that to your sophomore season, I mean, you were a turning machine. Um, we're kind of skipping a little bit. Can you tell me about the transition? Did you ever have any doubts between Coach Sunderland and Coach Sanderson's team taking over? Were you ever nervous? Can you tell me a little bit about what that was like?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's always doubts. There's always going to be doubts, and part of the battle is not giving into them. And sticking to what you want and focusing on your goals and just forging forward. There was a big switch between the old coaching staff and the new coaching staff. There was some discipline, some culture changes. Some sense drastic changes that were definitely necessary and needed. But I think that Cale's leadership is second to none. He really is an effective leader and a good role model. And if you buy into the things he's saying, he's been a champion. He's been undefeated. He's the only person that's ever done it. So if you're not going to listen to a guy like Cale, who's trying to help you, then who else are you going to listen to? And he took me from kind of being burned out of the sport, to be honest with you. I was to the point where it was more work and not as fun. And the balance was tipping in one direction. And now the balance, it's always, I'm super, super excited to go to practice, to wake up and be able to do what I do and still be able to do it at this age. Huge difference.
Did you ever question whether you could be able to make the transition to the new expectations?
Yeah, I knew that I would do it because in the back of my mind, I knew that I didn't know all the answers, and I knew that I was going to have to work on myself, and always everybody that's a wrestler should always look back and kind of evaluate what they did, and maybe I am the issue, because 9 times out of 10 you are the issue. You're either running towards something or you're running away from it.
Okay.
So I think it gave me it was a good thing for me because it helped me mature as a wrestler and as a person. And, I think the accountability was good. And I just knew that there were good things at the time, and they were making me a better wrestler. And I was feeling the changes, and I was happier, and I was more motivated and rested. So it's easy when those things are happening, and you want to be successful.
So you've been out of school for a few years. When you reflect back on some of those great teams that you were a part of, what are your thoughts when you think back about that?
Man, it's tough. I feel like it's hard to even kind of look back, because it's I'm still going.
Yeah.
So it just feels like I never stopped, and I'm still going real hard. But, looking back, the older I get, too, the more grateful I am for, the opportunities I had to wrestle with those guys, because, you need those guys in the room. You need those guys around you. You need those guys in your culture. Essentially, you're a product of your environment.
Yeah.
You're going to end up, either going one direction or the other. And for me, I was surrounded by great people. We all wanted to be the best, and everybody wanted to be better than the next person, and everybody, was kind of holding each other accountable to a certain standard that was high. And I think it made us all better wrestlers. And, I'm very fortunate right now to still have that situation, almost with the same guys from then. Plus, you add another 10, 15 guys now. It's just because this thing's been going and going and going. So it's tremendous to wrestle with those guys.
Nice. Did you ever, at any time, while you were wrestling on the Penn State team, imagine yourself coaching on that team?
Man, not really. No, yeah. I've had that thought before too. Looking back at the beginning where I started, and now, even just kind of I made the decision to go back to New Jersey and coach at Rutgers.
Uh,
But the heart doesn't lie, and I knew that maybe I thought I wanted to step away from wrestling and compete and everything because I just needed that break because that senior year kind of took a toll on me. The stress and the pressure and the just didn't have the right mindset either, so it was exhausting from that standpoint. But I always knew I
can
was
you just explore that for a second? What mindset? What are you talking about?
just like now I'm a believer.
Okay.
I've got God in my life, and I got a family and I have priorities. Then it was just all wrestling. It was just this 7 minutes. I have to win this 7 minutes if the rest of my life is going to be complete.
Okay.
Kind of attitude. That's tiring.
Yeah.
Now it's different. I have a different perspective. Because God is first in my life, and things are a lot lighthearted and more fun and enjoyable and easier in a sense. So that's the difference.
Okay. So you were at Rutgers for a couple years. When did you think, I'm getting the, I tried to get out and they pulled me, my soul is pulling me back in.
Yeah, I mean, at first I dove in head first in the coaching, and it was good. I learned a lot. I had some of the struggles, and some of the successes of coaching right away, but it was a great experience because it was the first time I was seeing wrestling from a different side. I was seeing it from a side where, I was kind of reflecting back on other guys, and then you can kind of see tendencies in yourself. You can see things that you need to fix because you're looking from a different awareness than in the past. So I don't ever look at it. It was always a learning experience. I always thought like, okay, I might wrestle, so let me make sure that I'm learning something. Make sure that I'm really taking this in. But, after the first year, I was like, I got to compete again. What am I doing? These guys, I can beat these guys. They're still competing. They're getting better, and then I kind of got antsy because I was like, once I committed to it in my mind, I was like, I should have been training yesterday, and the good, with exactly what I need.
Right. So you make that decision, and you end up back at Penn State. Can you tell us a little bit about that process?
Yeah, it was hard. It was hard because we moved and we left the kids at Rutgers, built some relationships there. I really had to, you have to let some other people down, which is always hard because you can't really make everyone happy at the end of the day. And I felt bad about it because, I had put some time in with some guys. That was tough. It was tough kind of making this whole thing happen, like maybe in a sense, convincing my wife that this was a great idea at the time. But she always, supports everything. She's very supportive. She made it very easy. The whole process was easy. It was a lot at the time because we had gotten married, had a baby, moved, started competing, changed jobs, changed, environment. So that was a lot.
Became a grown-up during the whole thing, kind of.
Became a grown-up. Yeah, snuck that in there.
Sorry. Well, I mean, being married and having a kid changes your life tremendously, right? So you kind of touched on something about learning as a coach. I've talked to so many guys who are wrestlers, go on to coaching, and they may not compete at the senior level, but they all tell me they learned so much more about wrestling as a coach after they were done competing. Can you talk? What did you learn? You said you learned stuff. What did you pick up along the way?
I mean, the biggest thing is it's no good to be scared about losing what you don't have.
Okay.
I think that so many people are held back because of nerves, and because of things pressures that we put on ourselves that really don't matter or exist, and they hold us back from competing at the best of our ability. So I saw that a lot. I saw the benefits of being consistent and working hard, because you can see where it pays off with some of the guys. You can see the guys, if they cut corners, you can see how it affects them. And you just those kind of things, being aware of kind of habits and patterns and stuff like that.
Gotcha. So you have all this stuff outside of wrestling? New wife, baby, you're in New Jersey, and you want to compete at the senior level. There's also a coaching job open. Was it hard to make the balance for coaching and senior level competition work and accepting the coaching job at the same time, or did the team, make it easy for you? I mean, what was it like?
Well, I mean, Coach Kale, he's a champion first. He's a champion. He knows what it takes to be the best. So, he was very clear about it from the start that he would be supportive of anything I needed, tours. If it ever became stressful, just to not to go home, get what you need, get your training first, get your rest first. And man, he's never said a word about anything, and he just wants to help me be successful in wrestling. And it's fun because I get an opportunity to coach too, and I get an opportunity to be around these guys. And it's like, like I said before, you learn a lot coaching. I've learned a ton from being around Kale and Casey and Cody, and man, it carries over into my wrestling too. So that's you got to make sure that I keep the balance. I don't like to use the word selfish, but when it gets closer to competitions, I got to make sure that I'm on a routine, I'm on a schedule, and but as much as I can at the same time, I'll be there for those guys too, because I know now their season finishes and they're right back in the room a week later.
Yeah.
Not a week later, a day later. On Monday, I think we got home on Sunday. Our guys were back in the room wrestling with our freestyle guys because they know that we have to get ready and we need partners. Right. So it's just, great environment, great system, good balance.
All right. So when you're putting your season together as far as a competitor, where you're going to compete, when you're going to peak, is one of the other coaches helping you put together a training schedule, or is it just all on you?
No, they help me.
They do.
Cody, Casey, and Kale. If you ask for anything over there, somebody's going to help you.
Okay.
You can ask Coach Kale at any point. Come in and work with you, and he will. You can ask Casey any kind of training advice, or send you diets or help you with this. Everybody, you just got to ask. You got to take responsibility for yourself and make sure that you get everything that you need, and make sure that you're doing everything that you should be doing, and make sure that you're also looking outside the box and not leaving any stones unturned.
Got it.
I think it's a mix between that, asking and taking responsibility.
Got it. Now they've been together a while, Casey, Cody, and Kale. Any trouble breaking into that little pack as a coaching equal?
No. I think I kind of always knew where I stood with the coaches, and vice versa. It's always been a good real relationship. So it was definitely different being on that side of it. At first, I would be lying to you if I said otherwise, but
right.
Things just kind of went into rhythm and flow.
Did they ever have to say, "Hey, you're a coach now. You're not you're not a student"? No.
I had a kid at home already. There you go.
Okay. All right. Well, we're up to the NCAAs. You guys won 5th team title in 6 years. Can you tell me what your thoughts are? You've had about a week to think about it. I know you're also focused on senior level competition, but what do you think about the the team, NCAAs? To me, you guys had 5 guys in the finals. It's probably the most entertaining finals as a fan that I've seen in a long time. Can you talk a little bit about the team, the performance?
Yeah, I mean, these guys, they're not the type of kids that you have to, motivate or you have to keep on track. I mean, they're self-motivated, ferocious competitors. And I know things didn't work out how they probably should have on paper in some of the weight classes, and I know there were some surprises and that kind of stuff. But, man, I was just really, really proud of the guys, especially the guys that, were just risking it all year and going for it. All their matches, they were doing everything that they could do to win. They were doing everything they can do outside of the room. They were looking for ways to get better. They're just, hungry kids. And that's wrestling. Things don't always work out the way they should work out, and part of being a great wrestler is being, having humility and being humble, even when you win and lose.
Yeah.
And, I really got to see how, great the character of some of these guys are. I saw them at the top, and I saw them, when things didn't work out their way, and, they stayed true to who they are, and so my biggest takeaway, I was proud. I was extremely proud of Nico because, that's something he's worked for a long time, and I know he's paid the price. He's paid the price times 10, in terms of everybody else. And then we got to see some guys finish their careers, on a high note. I know Morgan didn't felt bad for Morgan. I know he was right there. I know he could have won that match, and I know it's the margin is very very small. So all in all, I'm mostly just really proud and impressed by the maturity and their character moving forward.
Gotcha. Did you ever work with Jordan Conway on that high crotch?
Yeah.
I mean, it just looks so similar. I just wanted to know, like, I mean, he's smooth. He doesn't yank on the head quite the way you do.
No.
It's a different entry level, but it's.
He started doing a good job at the end of the year of hand fighting a little bit more and moving his feet a little bit more.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because he's really getting off a lot more attacks. I'm not quite as quick as Jordan, though.
Yeah.
He's fast.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's a young team. You'll be coming back to, a really strong team next year. But let's transition, which has got to be exciting as a coach. But let's get selfish. Talk about you as a competitor. You've got the Iowa trials coming up in about almost a month, just about a month.
Like 2.5 weeks.
2.5 weeks. Can you talk about your training and what your mindset is going into this competition?
Training is going great. When I think about it, coming up in a couple 2.5 weeks, it's just a tremendous opportunity. I'm super grateful, to still have what I have now, and to be able to do this, and to be able to, continuously get better and stay after it and have an opportunity and a chance to achieve that is, phenomenal. So just real relaxed. I really am just more excited to show everybody what I got, because I've been working really hard and I've been doing a lot of things that just everything was tightened up and everything was efficient, and, we're just excited. And the biggest thing going into it is to feel good and have fun. That's it.
Okay.
Feel good and have fun. Because if I do that, I can beat anyone on any given day. And I really believe that.
Is the last time you competed, I don't know the date, but was it like during the Ryder duel, or have you competed since then?
Yeah, I wrestled in the Pan American Championships.
Oh, that's right. Okay. All right. So, Olympic weight classes, a lot of people are smashed together because it goes down from 8 to 6. I don't expect you to have any thoughts on the Olympic, I mean, do you have any about? I mean, I hate the Olympic weight classes. I can't stand the idea of 6 weight classes. It doesn't,
You gotta have all the weights back.
Yeah.
Too many guys.
Yeah, so you got a stacked weight class. You're excited, relaxed. Do you let your mind wander where your seed's gonna be, or you just sort of take it one day at a time?
No, absolutely not. My mind is present. Right now, what I'm doing right now, what I'm going to be doing in the next hour. I think if you start thinking about that stuff too much, it's just a distraction. I think you need to really pay attention and stay present and focused on what you're doing. Because like I said, for me, it's just about feeling good, and I think part of feeling good is having balance. And if I start putting too much stock into seeds, or if I start putting too much stock into other guys, that's time wasted.
Totally.
Into myself. So I'm just doing everything I could possibly do to make myself better and stay focused.
It's a great lesson for young guys. Don't worry about seeds. Just go. Be your best. Can you tell me a little bit about your training? How have you been training? Who are you training with?
My training partners are, I would say they're probably the best in the world in terms of the full encompassing factor of weights, experience, everything. Training partners, I can't really go into complete detail at the time. It would be too many names and I'd forget to mention someone, but everybody I work out with here has made me better. So that aspect, I'm extremely blessed. As far as strength and conditioning, there was some adjustments that were made, to really make this transition over to freestyle and to be the most efficient in my matches. A lot of it's trial and error on the nutrition and the diet and the recovery and the weight cut. So just really making sure that I'm firing on all cylinders and all these different aspects, and making sure that we got better after every tournament and every match and every practice and every day, and just constantly staying in the mindset where I'm trying to get better all the way up to the day I compete. Really, and then after that day, the same thing.
Does it get easier as a grown-up to deal with weight and strength and conditioning, or does it just change?
I mean, I think it's a little bit different now because, I think back in my younger days, I think I probably valued comfort as being a top priority. Now it's different. I've accepted that, in order to have, growth in anything, I can't have comfort as my number one priority. So I just accepted that fact, and it makes it a lot easier. I mean, it does not make it suck less.
Okay.
Dieting, cutting weight.
Yeah.
The training, and that piece of it, I love that. I love the hard factor of that, So that's never really a problem, but yeah, it doesn't make it suck less, that part.
Got it. And I mean, does that affect your relationship? Like, does your wife know when it's really sucking? Like, is she like you're grumpy?
She's extremely helpful. I mean, she'll always make sure that I have everything that I need. Diet. She sees that I'm struggling in other areas. She'll pick up the pieces for me. So I mean, her dad was a wrestler. He wrestled at Arizona State. Her brother wrestled at Cal Poly.
Oh, so she knows.
She was a Division I gymnast at a really good program.
And she's a gymnast coach, right? Gymnastics coach?
Gymnastics coach now, so, I mean, she gets it, and she knows what it takes.
Got it. Regardless of what happens, how long do you see yourself, unless it's goal-oriented, how long do you see yourself wrestling at the senior level?
Man, a couple people asked me that question lately, and I don't really think about it too much, but, I mean, the amount of fun that I'm having right now, day to day, and just the gains and the new kind of fresh awareness of some stuff that I'm, learning and refining on, I can't see myself stopping anytime soon. As long as my body holds up and as long as, things are good around the house with everybody, it's fine. I'll keep going.
Okay. I want to take you back. I think it was 2 years maybe, a Reese Humphrey match where the last seconds, you kind of exploded. I think it was a takedown and backs. Is that right? For a win?
Yeah, it was a 4-pointer.
4-pointer. Can you tell me about the mentality of wrestling hard for the entire match, whether it's 6 minutes, 7 minutes, or at the senior level, 2 periods? I know it's changed a little bit, but how do you approach that space of not having a mental lapse?
I think that one of the scariest things for me is probably finishing a match and not being completely exhausted that I lost.
Right.
Because regret is the only pain that's not going to go away. If you gave it all, your all, and you know that you gave it your all, and you know that you didn't hold back, and things don't work out, I think that's where it comes into perspective between having a God and whatever that road. But that's what it's all about, So it took me a while to commit to that approach completely, but now, I'm not going to walk off a wrestling mat and have anything left in me. So, when I know what's at stake and I know exactly what I want, and I wanted to win that match, and it was important for me to make the national team that year. And when I came back from the break, there was 22 seconds left. I knew I was literally going to do everything I possibly could to win. And I had decided I was going to get it before I went out there. So I think that's kind of half the battle too, is committing to it, beforehand. So if you're going to go out there and wrestle as hard as you can, you need to commit to it in practice. You need to commit to it. It's a full lifestyle thing. You're not going to show up on match day and
Right.
Wrestle a hard 6 minutes. You got to train yourself for that.
Another good lesson for youngsters listening. Did that evolve in you? Did you always have that, or do you feel like that's gotten stronger, that muscle, that instinct, as you've gotten older?
It's gotten stronger. I think you get a little bit smarter.
Is that what it is? Is getting smarter in your pre-match competition, your training, or is it?
Oh, man, I think it's either you just get a little bit more, you get a little bit more patient, you get a little bit more experience. I think the biggest thing is experience. The more you compete, and if you are a person who, reacts to problems, then you're probably not getting too much better. But if you're a person who is actively looking for ways to get better and constantly living in that kind of attitude, then going, and eventually, you know, you're going to keep going forward with that attitude and keep improving. So I think that's kind of been the key to it, sustaining it.
Okay. Uh, how do you think you've improved most from the time you won your national championship to now? Mental, physical, technique, intangible. I mean, what are your, as a wrestler, not as a human being, but you can talk about that too.
Yeah. As a wrestler, I would say perspective. I think, you know, some of the things that I put all of my stock and value into are different. You know, why am I doing this? I think that's a little bit different now too. It's not so much about, you know, who I'm going to be, whether it's a state champ or a national champ. I think wrestling for me is more about who I want to become as a person. You know, and I mean, for the better half of my life, I've spent on a wrestling mat, so you know that's where my character was developed. You know, and I think that's probably one of the biggest differences is the character aspect and the perspective, you know, on winning and losing and training and, you know, why am I doing this too?
Right. So you just said it. You've been doing this for most of your life, since you were 4.5, maybe.
Yeah,
How old are you right now?
27.
I don't even remember being that young. But so you've been doing this 80% of your life. I didn't do the math, but anyway, tell me, you still love the sport?
More than I did when I started. Yeah.
So what do you love about the sport? What speaks to your soul?
I mean, the challenge. You know, nothing pulls me out of my comfort zone more than wrestling. You know, nothing, you know, really demands that I have that faith and that courage and that belief, you know, and taking that risk. You know, I don't think that I can find anything else in life where it would be a similar risk factor, you know, risk reward factor. I love that about wrestling. I love that. I love the humility aspect of it, you know, because wrestling will humble you. It doesn't matter how good you are.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what your record is, where you came from. At some point, wrestling will humble you. And, you know, I like that. I like that challenge.
All right. Get out of here on this. Well, I hope to talk to you before 10 years from now, but if I see you in 10 years, where are you going to be? What are your goals beyond this right now? Are you going to still be at State College coaching? Or are you going to, you know, be a piano player? I mean, what's your goals?
I mean, I think I really want to be a head coach, head wrestling coach someday.
Okay.
It's,
At a Division I college?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I would stay in college and just, you know, hopefully be able to impact somebody's career positively. You know, like my career was impacted and the direction of my career changed and my perspective changed. And I hope that I can influence other people in that aspect so they can reach their potential.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Nice. I know it's a little ways down the road. Let's say you have, do you have a son or a daughter right now? Son. How are you going to treat it when he's getting older? Are you going to make him wrestle, like experience it? Or you can just let them up to him? Have you thought about it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna like pressure him into wrestling, but you know, I could see him being a wrestler someday. I think my approach will be more get him the best opportunity and let them handle it. You know, and I'm just a fan.
Yeah.
You know, because at the end of the day, you know, I can't be you can't be over coaching your kids. You'll just burn them out. I think, and
Yep.
you know, for me, it's gonna be more of get them the best opportunities, like my parents did with me. And then you're kind of just more of a support system and a fan and see what happens.
Got it. I'll get you out of here on this last question. Who do you watch that you would like the way they wrestle? It could be contemporary. It could be someone you're watching film of from the 70s. Who do you enjoy watching? Who do you, you know, try to pick up technique from? I know you can probably get it from a lot of places, but is there somebody that you really enjoy right now, either at the NCAA level or the senior level or past senior level?
I mean, I used to like watching, you know, Yazdani because, you know, he was a world champ, he was short, you know, he had a left-handed high crotch, he had a figure four leg turn. Snatch single. You know, I saw a very similar wrestler, and you know, he was dominant, and he was at the same stature. So, I mean, that was a guy at first, when I first started wrestling freestyle, I was like, you know, he's gotten similar. You know, same with Umar from India. He's a left-handed high crotch,
Gotcha,
big
yeah.
and four, very strong, powerful guy, very mean and physically tough. He was another guy I liked when I first started out, but now it's tons of guys, tons of guys.
Okay. Hey, I appreciate you taking the time, Frank. Good luck in Iowa, and I'll check in with you afterwards, okay?
Sounds good.
Fantastic. Thank you.